Venus and star blessings. Hoping you are all doing really well. So let's talk about Venus, because what's actually happening? Well, first of all, she recently went direct. Let's just do a quick summary on the whole thing. First of all, Venus has been in Leo for the last 4 months. Very long journey. She formed the conjunction to the sun, was reborn as the morning star, the Leo morning star, August 13th. Basically became visible for most people around the 19th, 20th of August. However, in Melbourne, as I've said numerous times, she was not invisible. This is all connected to the heliacal Venus phases, and I've spoken about these throughout a couple of different videos I've done, including the one I did with Roman Kolev as well. So these planets appearing and disappearing are very significant portals and very significant times on the Earth plane, collectively and for ourselves individually. So as Venus proceeds forward, she went direct. She finished her whole retrograde cycle on the 4th of September. And she's now subsequently picking up momentum, proceeding forward in her cycle as the morning star, which she will continue until next year in June, where then she will later be reborn as the evening star, Gemini evening star. So this cycle really does last. It's an 8-year cycle, but we can also view it from the point of view of 19 months. That is, that it takes 19 months for Venus to basically complete this cycle that she begins as a morning star. The next time she appears as a morning star will be in 19 months' time. As she leaves her retrograde cycle and proceeds forward, she's picked up momentum, so she's moving on, and so the story now is beginning to progress forward. And the story is, it has a few different layers, because it all began when Venus entered Leo. Then there was another level, of course, when she went retrograde. That took us into the whole retrograde journey, which lasted for about 43 days this time. Then in that process, she was reborn as a morning star. That's what happens when she goes retrograde. That's how she becomes a morning star, when she's retrograde. And she, as she's proceeding forward, you can see this chart here. It's 12th of September, Melbourne, Australia, date and time. It'll be the 11th of September for all of you in the Northern Hemisphere. She forms her first conjunction to the moon. This is a very important cycle unto itself. This is a waning moon phase. So this happens on the top. Sorry, I'm just looking at something here in my notes. So this is the first time she's forming a conjunction to the moon since she's been reborn as the morning star last month, August the 13th. And the moon-Venus conjunctions that will occur 9 times over the next 9 months, we'll have one every month, these little portals basically correspond to the descent of Inanna. So given this is the first one, this speaks to the first gate. There are 7 gates. This is the first one, which is said to be at the crown chakra. So this is her opening the door, as it were, going in, taking that first step into her descent. And the crown chakra is very connected to, from the point of view of our human experience, if you like, it's really about releasing our our personality and ego, unconscious projections and desires, if you like, because when Inanna descends into the underworld, what she has to do through each gate that she passes, she has to take off a garment at each gate. And so by the time she gets to the last one, she's completely naked. And it's there where she is killed, but then she's also saved and reborn, as it were. So this is the first entry point. So for the next 9 months, we're going to have this cycle that we can work with Venus in amongst and in conjunction with her being the Venus morning star in Leo. So these Venus cycles and these Venus portals and the Venus retrograde cycle and the Venus morning star and her heliacal phases, there's just so much to the teachings of this phenomenal, incredible, mystical goddess, actually. And I've said before, the more I dive deep into this and the more I learn, the more I'm left dazzled and mystified by her complexity. Actually, there's just so many layers, and how we can actually integrate with this cycle for our own personal evolution and growth and development. And it is Venus, so naturally it is very much connected to, from the Venus star point level, it's really connected to our heart and our soul. And from a Venus level, it's connected to self-worth, value, love, what we love, who we love, how we receive love, how we love ourselves. And in Leo, of course, it's been this bursting energy through the heart center. And the square to Uranus has invited us into a journey of authenticity, having the courage to be authentic through our heart center. So this portal of this Moon Venus conjunction, which occurs pretty much tomorrow, is something that we can, first of all, witness in the eastern horizon. This is Venus and the Moon on the eastern horizon, basically, rising, what time is it? 5:31 a.m. 5:31 a.m., 15 seconds rather, is Melbourne time. So that's the time she's rising and forming a conjunction to the Moon. She's risen before that in terms of, well, they both have, but in terms of their exactness, this is it here at 5:31 a.m. because we want it at the exact moment, which is 13 degrees, 19 minutes. And so what we can do, quite apart from, first of all, we can witness the gorgeous morning star Venus every morning for the next 9 months or so, rising in the eastern horizon. And this Moon-Venus conjunction, we're not going to see this every day. We're only going to see it, around about once a month, right? So this is the first one that's happening tomorrow. It's really important. This is, if we want to work on our development, evolution, growth, Venus matters of the heart in Leo, and we want to take that, one can call it a shamanic journey. It's a very personal and private journey that we can consciously focus on ourselves. And it can, I mean, there are lots of different individuals doing, like group work around this Venus journey, Inanna descending into the underworld, meeting up with the Moon, which is the symbolism for that, for each gate that she enters. So tomorrow is a really important day. And if we want to work with this cycle, we begin with this tomorrow. This is an extension, if you like, or another layer of the Venus cycle. So it's going to be really interesting to just observe, first of all, Venus rising in the eastern horizon every morning, and then another 8 times after this one, we'll see her form a conjunction to the Moon, which is symbolism to her going further and further into the underworld over the next 9 months. And each gate is said to correspond to the chakras in the body. So then you can think about the 7 chakras and where each center or each chakra resides, as it were, or is emanated through our physical body. Most of you are aware of the 7 chakras. And we can just simply do a meditation with that. You know, we can do journaling, we can do vision boards, dream work. It's up to us how we choose to work with this energy. But it is about going through a deep process of metamorphosis, transformation of some kind. And it doesn't have to be, you know, it's not defined by some massive, you know, life-changing event necessarily. It can be so many different things. It can be attitudes, perspectives, beliefs, emotional attitudes. It can be communication matters, attitudes. It can just anything that describes ourself and the aspects of ourself that we want to work on further, release, transform, clear up, clean up, because that journey of Inanna into the underworld, it is a death, you know, it's a symbolic death, but it's a death that corresponds to basically our ego attachments. And so every gate that she enters where she removes a garment is symbolism and a metaphor for us actually releasing something, letting go of something, releasing an attachment. Now, as I said, that can be an idea, an attitude, and so forth. So it's up to us how we tune into this energy and what it means for us in our own life at this point in time. So it's a beautiful metamorphosis. Another good word would be involution, similar to evolution, except involution speaks more directly to the process of removing certain things about ourselves or in our life that act as a block of some kind from us actually evolving. The other thing that I find really interesting in this moment in time, if you like, is Mars, which is at virtually 10 Libra, is forming a quincunx to Saturn. It is a wide quincunx, so it's not as close as we would really like it to be. But anyway, Mars is also forming a quincunx to Jupiter, and these two are sextile each other. It is wide, I get it. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing a yod formation. I think the thing that probably might bring this into some sort of significance for certain individuals is because the 3 signs in these 3 planets, which is Pisces, Taurus, and Libra, are all Venus-ruled signs. The yod formation speaks to fate and destiny. It's like a fork in the road, and a new direction is coming in. It is Venus's 2 rulership signs, Libra and Taurus, and her exalted sign, Pisces. So I think this might be important for some people, and I suppose it's a question of looking at, well, where does the Moon-Venus conjunction occur in your chart in Leo? It's going to be the same place where Venus has been tracking Leo in your chart for the last 4 months. It's the same place where she became the morning star. And then you'll be looking at, well, where is Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars transiting in your chart? Where does this yod play out in your own chart? There might just be something very significant, very fated and destined that takes a different turn. So that's just another little thing that I noticed that I thought is worth mentioning. And Mercury is very close to changing directions as well. Let me just see. Just forgotten the date of that. And this degree, of course, where Venus is at the moment, this is a degree that she's been on before. In a couple of days' time, she's going to finish her square with Jupiter as well. That'll be the last passage. And then about a week or so after that, she'll form her final square to Uranus. So these little chapters, these are the closing chapters of the 3 passages where she has formed these square aspects to both Jupiter and Uranus. So something else will close in this chapter of Venus's cycle as retrograde Venus and as the rebirth of the morning star, and also her conjunction to the moon. Now, this is a further invitation into the releasing of things that we've perhaps been contemplating, reflecting on, working through, deciding upon, the last few months really, with Venus's cycle in Leo and retrograde cycle and the rebirth of the morning star. So just see. Yeah, I thought it was a couple of days away. So Mercury stations on the 16th. So in other words, this chart here, Moon-Venus conjunction is it's also, just a few days away before Mercury stations direct as well. So that's really interesting. And Mercury is now the morning star. Morning star corresponds to the god Apollo. I briefly mentioned that, I think, just the other day. I want to bring Roman Kolev back on and talk about Hermes, Mercury, and Mercury as a morning star and an evening star, and differences between those. So just waiting to hear back from him. Hopefully we can get that in motion soon. So that's pretty much all I wanted to mention today, that there is a yod formation in Venus's signs, which I think for that reason makes it more important. Venus-Moon conjunction is the crown chakra. It's the first entry of Inanna's descent into the underworld. So we can think about this cycle really over the next 9 months, like I said, and just I really encourage you, if you're in a position to do so, to wake up and go and watch Venus rising in the eastern sky. It is the most spectacular, most dazzling, most beautiful phenomena to witness. In my previous apartment, before I moved into this one, I was living on the eastern side, and I did that a lot. I would go out and watch Venus rising as the morning star. It was the most spiritual, really, for lack of a better word. It was the most spiritual, visceral embodiment and experience. It's literally just, your physical eyes witnessing something that's so exquisite and has so much symbolism and meaning, and just the eyes capturing that and taking it in. What's behind the eyes? It's the soul energy, right? So it's that embodiment, that absorption, that taking it in is a very powerful experience. So I encourage you to do that while you have the chance. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do that because I live on the western side. And given that it's usually, 5:15, 5:30 a.m., it's very difficult for me to make that happen. But I've just had the last 9 months of seeing Venus as the evening star, which was exquisite, just in a very different way. The night sky, evening sky, and the dawn, the morning, they are very different skies, aren't they? There's a different feeling in the air. There's a different vibe. in one case the sun's coming up, in the other case the sun is setting. You know, there's a different correspondence in our own physical bodies at those times as well. You know, it's one's day and one's night kind of thing. So very different experiences. What else was there? I think that's about it, really. And that's right. Also, with this conjunction here, it's the waning phase of the moon, obviously, because what's happening is the moon is closing in, right, to meet the sun, because we have a new moon very shortly, which I did a video on just a few days ago, I think. So this moon here is in a dark phase, right? Because it's preparing to meet the sun, where there will be a new moon in Virgo, just in a few days' time, a couple of days' time, actually. So this is the dark phase of the moon, and it's forming, which is a balsamic phase. And it's forming a conjunction to Venus, which is the first entry point to the descent of Inanna. So there's, you know, quite a lot of symbolism here. And I just forgot to mention, look at Juno. Look at how close Juno is to this. So it's a triple conjunction, really, in fact. And we could even add Lilith for sure. So we have four very, very significant and very powerful feminine symbols. Very powerful feminine symbols. Now, these feminine symbols exist both in men and women, right? So, but typically, you know, for men, they tend to experience, let's say, a lot of this energy through the interactions they have with women. It's not to say that they don't experience it within themselves. They do. Just depends on the individual, you know, how integrated and aligned they are with their own inner feminine, and so on and so forth. But, you know, at a very basic, mundane, everyday kind of level, a guy most likely would experience a lot of this energy as seen through his partner. If he's a straight male and has an intimate relationship, you know, with a woman, for instance, or his wife or whatever. From our own perspective, this is, you know, a very really interesting alignment of, I would like to call these divine feminine energies, all very different unto themselves, but all coming together. And with conjunctions, of course, the energy is extremely potent and very unconscious as well. The conjunction energy is, it's like a new moon energy. It's like Aries first house, you know, it's like the seed, you know, it's like the black moon. You can't see what's there, but you can feel the tremendous potential of possibilities, that anything can be born out of this. So we can also think about that from the point of view of Venus and the moon forming this conjunction, Inanna approaching, going into the first gate. She's going in with who? She's going in with Lilith and Juno as well. Another two feminine deities, both extremely powerful. And it's interesting because Juno is the one who is loyal, the one who does represent marriage, partnership, commitment, relationships, contractual agreements. And Lilith is really the opposite to that, isn't she? She's the one that didn't want to conform to the proposals that Adam made. She's the one that was more interested in being independent, free, and sovereign. So we have a mixture here of, you know, very different feminine deities that all represent very different things, but they've all come together so that they're all speaking to each other. There's a very distinct and purposeful alignment with all of them here. So it'll be very interesting to see how this unfolds for each of us. And it will be, something very different for all of us. It just depends who you are and where this is happening in your chart and what are the matters and conditions and stories in your life, But whatever it is a heart-centered energy because it's all happening in Leo. And maybe the Juno in Leo is a commitment to your own heart, to having the courage to stand in your own heart, and speak from that place. Allow that energy to come through you. Lilith, of course, gives or invokes or invites or enables, whatever word you want to use, that aspect of ourselves that is often suppressed or hidden. It's more of a raw kind of wild energy, feminine energy about ourselves. So Lilith here in Leo invites us again to allow that beautiful, wild, feminine, heart-centered energy to come through. Venus, of course, is the love, and whilst it can be romantic love, it's a much deeper love than that, because the Venus star point represents the deepest aspect of our heart and soul, and what we are here to give on this planet through our heart center, through our talents, our gifts. And the moon, of course, is mother. It's nurturing, it's mother. It corresponds to really our physical body. All our internal rhythms and systems correspond to the moon. When you know that you're tired, it's because of the moon. When you are hungry, whatever it is, it's that is the moon. The moon is letting you know what your body needs. And the moon, of course, is our emotional body. So there's a massive, massive energetic invitation here to work with these divine feminine deities with their very distinctive symbolism, and they're all coming together in a conjunction. So there's tremendous potential here, and we can tune into this energy in our own unique way and work with it in the way that we need to. But because it is a Moon-Venus conjunction, and it is Inanna's first entry into her descent into the underworld, it is also about recognizing past attachments, attitudes, all sorts of things that basically we need to move away from. We've finished with those journeys, chapters, lessons, relationships, whatever it is. And the alchemy, if you like, the energy, the alchemy, the love is basically in the heart center, because all this is happening in Leo. So, of course, Leo at a very mundane, personality-oriented, egocentric type of level can be extremely self-absorbed. And there's no room for that in this particular alignment, because Venus is descending into the underworld. She's going through the first gate, and that descent is about release and transformation. So very powerful. I'd be interested to hear how you relate to this and what your intentions are, and if you've thought about it, and or if you hadn't thought about it, or if you weren't aware of these things. Let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Venus and star blessings, and enjoy this first magnificent energy in the chakra of the crown chakra, which is happening tomorrow. I think that's it feels very special to me, this alignment, and special is a good word for Leo, of course. So yeah, I'll see you guys very soon. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.